Hey YouTube, Common Collector here, and today I'm bringing you guys an update to my For Hire deck profile. As you guys know, I do really love this deck. I've sort of shown some different iterations with doing this pure and with Tri-Brigades, so I want to do an update on the pure version of the deck. Really fun deck. If you guys have never played this, it's a really cool deck that just sort of focuses on spamming out your For Hire monsters, which are basically a group of like mercenaries of all different types and attributes and whatnot, which is really cool. And then going into their boss monster, which is Falgo, Justice for Hire. He is one of my all-time favorite Link monsters, matter of fact, actually, just because of how how unique he is. So there's not a whole lot of other Link monsters that are like him. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. We are really close to 2,000 subscribers. We are about 15 people away. So if you guys want to subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate it. Also, once we do hit 2,000 subscribers, I will be giving away a box of Ghosts from the Past to one lucky subscriber. So make sure to check out my Ghosts from the Past opening, which is going to be happening later this week for all those giveaway announcements. And then also there's going to be an additional box given away, one to a patron, and then also one given away for every 5 patrons that we have over on the Patreon. So if you guys have been considering joining the Patreon, definitely go ahead and do so. This would be a really great time for like a 1 in 5 chance of getting a boost or one of the boxes of Ghosts from the Past. But anyways, for the video here, for the deck profile, we have, of course, our 3 copies of Beat. This is extremely standard. Beat is one of the best of the low-level monsters. So for all of the low-level monsters, they all share the same effect that during your main phase, you're able to special summon one monster for hire from your hand onto, from your hand to the field. So then they also gain additional effects that if a monster is special summoned, yada yada. So for the Beat, when you special summon a for hire monster, you're able to add another for hire monster from your deck to your hand, which is really cool, which is sort of why she is the best. You're able to, this is basically your Rhoda for the deck, being able to search for another monster. Or this is your Stratos, rather. And then being able to get that special summon off basically as a blanket effect for all of the level 4 or lower monsters. Then we have our 3 copies of Philo. Philo is also just really amazing because with this on the field, whenever, once per turn, if you special summon a for hire monster, you're able to special summon back a for hire from your graveyard, which is really cool. 3 copies of Donpa. This is another really nice card to get to your win condition of the deck, which is, again, your Falgo. So Falgo's effect is that he basically gains additional effects if you're able to destroy a card on your opponent's side of the field, which we will get to a little bit later. But with the Donpa, with this card, once per turn, if you special summon a for hire monster, then you're able to target one face-up card on the field and destroy it. So this can be really nice disruption during your opponent's turn. If you're able to special summon, then you're able to get that effect off even though it's your opponent's turn, and then you're able to get a destruction off, and then you're able to get off more advantage with your Falgo, which is really cool. Then we have our 2 copies of Recon. Recon is basically the other version of Donpa, where it destroys set cards. So you have Donpa destroying face-up cards, and then Recon destroying set cards on the field. Then getting on into 2 copies of Seal. Some people like to play 3 copies of Seal. I kind of go back and forth on this, but overall, Seal at 2 is just fine. Seal is kind of like a worse version of the Philo. So we got Philo back in Dark Neostorm, which seems like it was actually like not that far away. But so we have the Seal, which adds a for hire monster back from your graveyard to your hand, and then Philo just special summons from graveyard to the field. So it just sort of goes for what you need at the time, but generally you can end up getting both of these out onto the field anyways. I just really prefer that the Philo just ends up special summoning the card onto the field anyways, and then you don't need to rely on having that the secondary effect of these, which are all special summon stuff. Then we have our Helmer, which is a really cool card. Kind of helps you to mulligan a little bit and helps some graveyard setup, because when you, or if you special summon a for hire monster, then you're able to discard one for hire card and then draw one card from your deck, which is kind of nice just to be able to set up the graveyard and draw into some new stuff. Then we have 1 copy of Bravo, which helps to increase the attack of all of your guys on the field. Then we have for our big boss monsters. Now these cards, the rest of these do not have the ability to let you special summon monsters once per turn, which is a little bit of a downside, but this deck would just be crazy if literally every monster let you spam. But then we have Raphael, which actually does help you spam a little bit as well, because with this card, when it's special summoned, you're able to excavate the top cards of your deck equal to the number of for hire monsters you control with different names except for him. So if you have 3 monsters besides him, you're able to reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, and then you add one of them to your hand. The biggest the biggest benefit to his effects is the fact that his effect does not require you to add a for hire card to, from your excavated stuff to your hand. It just can be anything. So I've used this to add Ash Blossoms, Monster Reborns, Called by the Graves, whatever you name it. Raphael can kind of do it all and just sort of adds whatever really powerful card you need from what you excavate, whether you need an extender or like Called by the Grave for a nice security blanket. Then we have our 1 copy of Wiz, which can stop spell and traps. I also forgot to mention that Raphael, by discarding a for hire card, you're able to negate the effect of a monster. So negate the effect of a monster, negate the effect of a spell or trap, which is kind of cool. And then we have 1 copy of Dinah. This is like a gigantic DD Crow for the deck, because if it's special summoned, you're able to banish cards in your opponent's graveyard up to the number of for hire monsters you control with different names, including himself. So a lot of the times they won't include themselves in their effect, like the Raphael, like how I said he can let you excavate except for counting himself. Dinah can actually banish stuff, including himself, or for the number, including himself, which is really cool. You can sometimes end up banishing like 4 or 5 cards from your opponent's graveyard, which is really, really cool. And then he also gives you a little bit of battle protection, because your opponent has to attack this before they can target your other for hire monsters for attacks. Then we have, for our hand traps, we have 3 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. This card is just so good for the deck, again, because we like destruction effects. So we will get to that a little bit later. Then we have our 2 copies of Ash Blossom. You guys know, if you guys are longtime viewers of the channel, that I'm just a big advocate for 2 Ash Blossoms if you're in a deck that kind of draws through a lot, especially because this deck needs to combo hard, and you need to see like 2 or maybe even 3 for hires in your opening hand to get a good full combo off. You know, because sometimes these guys don't generate the best advantage. So if you open with like a Donpa, a Recon, and then also, let's say like a Bravo, then you need to have 3 for hire monsters in your opening, or unless if you open just like a Donpa and a Beat, then you really only need those 2. So it's just really important to make sure that you see enough of the for hire cards in your hand. So 2 Ash Blossoms is totally fine for this, and then 2 copies of Effect Veiler. Then getting on into the spells, we have our 3 copies of Rookie for Hire. This is basically 3 additional copies of Call by the Grave for the deck, because with this, if your opponent uses something like, not Ash Blossom, Effect Veiler or Infinite Impermanence on you, which is going to negate the effect of a face-up monster, with this card, you're able to tribute 1 monster and then special summon 1 for hire monster from your deck with a different level, as long as it's 1 level higher or lower. So with this, if your opponent uses something like Effect Veiler to negate the effect of your Beat, which is going to allow you to add a monster, you can just chain Rookie for Hire in order to tribute it and then send it to the graveyard. And then that is going to allow Beat to actually resolve, and then you get that special summon off, and then that basically lets you sort of like mulligan off for what the advantage was that you were about to lose, which is really cool. Really, really powerful card for the deck that we got back in Phantom Rage last year. Then we have our 2 copies of Mayhem for Hire. This is fine as just a 2 of. It's a card that you can add really easily if you excavate it off of your Raphael or something like that. So overall, just 2 copies of the Mayhem for Hire is really nice. This card does, however, pair really nicely with the Recon, which allows you, when you special summon, to destroy a set card on the field, or with the Donpa, which allows you to destroy face-up cards. So you can actually combo Mayhem for Hire if those cards are on the field while you have the Falgo to get extra advantage off. So if you wanted to play this as a 3 of, that is totally fine as well. I just couldn't really find space for it in the deck. 1 copy of Called by the Grave, 1 copy of Instant Fusion, one copy of 1-for-1, just so we can make sure that we can set up the graveyard a little bit and get to our Philo, which is really nice. Then we have our one copy of Monster Reborn, one copy of Reinforcement of the Army, which helps us get into our beat earlier, one copy of Pot of Desires. I recently changed this and added this in here just for a little bit of extra hand advantage. There's nothing in the main deck that we really care too much about banishing. If you ended up banishing both of your copies of Raphael, that would be probably the absolute worst out of anything. But like, if generally you're gonna end up having an extra beat. You're not gonna usually end up banishing your full playset of beat or like your Philo or anything like that. Seal is a 2-of. You can generally like get these guys out of the deck pretty easily, and then maybe you can get the Raphael out of the deck also, and then use your Pot of Desires safely and not banish any of those. Overall, Desires as a 1-of is still pretty good in here. And then to round off this 40 card deck, we have our 3 copies of There Can Be Only One. We're playing a whole bunch of different types in here, and we're generally only going to be ending with one of each type on the field. We have a couple of double beasts here, and our Fulgo is a beast as well, so sometimes that can get hindered. But besides that, There Can Be Only One is generally going to be hurting your opponent more than it's going to be hurting you, which is really, really cool. Now let's get on into the extra deck. We have our 3 copies of Fulgo, Justice for Hire. So this card is really cool. Cannot be used as link material, which is a pretty important distinction, that you can't use this to like go into something like Appaloosa or Access Code Talker would actually be a really big problem with this deck, I feel, if you could go into that. But also with this card, if it's link summoned, you're able to special summon one for hire monster from your deck with a different type from the monsters used for this card's link summon, and the link summon requires 3 monsters with different types. So if you're going into Fulgo with your Beat, Philo, and let's say Donpa, then that's when you're able to special summon out your Raphael from the deck, and then you're able to get off that extra search and add, or basically excavate and add a card from your deck to your hand, which is really cool. Then the best effect of the Fulgo, which is absolutely insane, is that during your, just if one of your opponent's cards gets destroyed by battle or card effect, then you are able to draw 1 card from your deck. However, if you have 3 different named for hire monsters on the field, you are able to draw 3 cards instead, total, which is absolutely insane. So if you have the Fulgo on the field along with your Raphael, which you will generally end your turn with, and then you also just have like a Donpa on the field, and then you are able to activate like a Ghost Ogre to destroy one of your opponent's monsters, then that means that you're going to be able to draw 3 new cards, which is the reason why our hand trap lineup is kind of the way it is, and also why we're not playing stuff like Infinite Impermanence and whatnot. Those are just kind of cards that don't really do too much during our opponent's turn, like if you draw into an Infinite Impermanence. However, if you have like Effect Veiler, Ghost Ogre doing it during your opponent's turn is really amazing. And then also having that Ash Blossom as well as an option is really cool. Or you'll just end up drawing into more copies of your for hires just for more follow-up during your turn. Or with that, again, you need your discards for your Raphael as well as for your the Wiz. So for these 2, you need to discard a for hire card. So sometimes you can just draw into some for hires for discards, for negations, which is also really cool. Just going to breeze through the rest of the stuff. 1 copy of Almirage, just for another way to get another type out onto the field. 1 copy of Link Karibo, 1 copy of Relinquished Anima, 1 IP, 1 Nightmare Cerberus, Phoenix, and Unicorn. Pretty standard, obviously, for just how versatile this. There's really nothing too stingy in the extra deck that you need. You just really need your 3 copies of your Fulgo. The rest is just kind of icing on top. Then we have 1 copy of Appaloosa, 1 copy of Boral Sword, 1 copy of Mech Knight Crusadia Evermax. If you guys have Access Code Talker, you can totally slap it in here. 1 copy of Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. This deck can spam out monsters really, really easily. And then if your opponent does have something out there that you just can't beat over, because your attack values on these guys isn't super duper crazy, it's really nice to just be able to go into Underworld Goddess to get rid of those. And then we do have our 1 copy of Millennium Eyes Restrict as our instant fusion target, and just as other ways that we can get into Relinquished Anima and Link Karibo and whatnot. So then just really quickly, just want to go over a couple side deck options for you guys. Just other things that really help working with the Folgo. Obviously, just anything that works with destruction. So Twin Twisters, highly recommend that for the side deck. We then have Lightning Storm. Dino Wrestler Pankratops is really good for several reasons, because he does do tribute a Dino Wrestler monster in order to target a card your opponent controls and destroy it, which then again will help work with the Folgo. But also he is a different type than anything else in the deck, so he is a dinosaur, which can help you to get into new typing to go into the Folgo as well. Harpy's Feather Duster, always amazing. Nibiru, the Primal Being, and Alpha. Nibiru just does not do anything with destruction, but just overall, just as an extra hand trap, if you're going second and there can be only one, just isn't that relevant. Siding this out for your 3 copies of Nibiru can always be really, really helpful, as well as also the Alpha does not destroy anything, but anything that basically focuses on destroying to help work with your Folgo and just to help clear the board is always super duper nice. But thank you guys so much for watching this deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really liked picking this deck back up. Like I said, Folgo is one of my all-time favorite Link monsters ever designed. I think he's so cool. I think he's so awesome. And there's just a lot of really cool potential for this deck. If it ever did get new support, I think this deck could really benefit from a nice Link 1 monster that could then search for maybe something like a spell, so then you could get into your Rookie for hire or your Mayhem. I think that that would be really cool and help to increase the power level of the deck. Let me know what you guys think, what else this deck needs. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, how you guys are running this deck. And then again, don't forget to just sort of follow along for my upcoming videos for announcements on the giveaways and when we will be doing those giveaways for the big hitting 2,000 subscribers, which should be coming up really soon. So again, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Check out the Patreon if you guys are interested at all. And we will see you guys for the next profile. Peace.